Good morning, students.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so we started the discussion on ballistic protection, and then we moved on to discuss about the difference between hard body armor and soft body armor. Then we moved on to discuss about the mechanism of ballistic protection, followed by what are the types of fibers used for ballistic protection. So just a brief overview of what we discussed in the previous lecture. In the previous lecture, we discussed what type of material is suitable for ballistic clothing. So I already told you that in the olden days, before the advent of these high performance fibers, nylon was thought to be a better material for ballistic clothing because nylon had a high work of rupture. Okay, that is the area under the curve. The force required to break the specimen was much higher when compared with the conventional fibers. But however, it was found that the nylon was not that effective when you compare with the high performance fibers like aramid. Why? Because in aramid fibers, especially the para aramids, the wave velocity propagation is much higher when you compare it with the nylon. So what is this wave velocity propagation? That is when the projectile is striking the specimen, that is the particular yarn. What happens is it creates some waves. That waves in the both the direction, in the transverse direction as well as in the longitudinal direction. So the wave velocity propagation take place, and that is considered as the important requirement for the ballistic clothing. Why? Because when the wave, when the projectile is striking the specimen at a high speed, what happens? The projectile kinetic energy is converted into fabric strain energy that will be spread out throughout the fabric surface. Okay, so depending upon the amount of the waves generated, the energy dissipated in the fabric becomes higher. Okay, if you compare the wave propagation of para-aramids with the nylon fibers do not, though it has a high work of rupture and it can withstand many shocks, like it is used in the ropes, especially when used in the parachutes or in the ropes where it has a, because of its tendency to withstand higher shocks. Though it was considered suitable, but it could not actually result in the formation of more stress propagation. It could not generate more waves, and wave dissipation, wave generation, and wave dissipation was not possible. So para-aramid was considered suitable. And why nylon was not considered suitable? There was other reasons also, because nylon, if you see, nylon creeps under a high stress and strain rates. For example, if you see nylon, if you start giving some stress to it at a high strain rate, what will happen is it will just creep. It will just extend with time. Okay, and also nylon sometimes because of the projectile heat energy, when it is striking the fabric, it will lead to melting and fusion at the interlacement points. So that is also one of the reasons why nylon was not that effective. So then how the para-aramids were found to be effective? So the reason is, there are multiple reasons. The main important reason, which I have explained in the previous lecture, the primary requirement of a ballistic protective clothing, that is the fiber which is used as a ballistic protective clothing, is the fiber should have the higher modulus. Okay, if you just compare the modulus of the nylon fibers against this fibers like para-aramids, if you will observe that nylon has a higher modulus. If you see this the particular line which is close to y-axis. This indicates that the modulus is higher. You can see here initially it actually it does not undergo any kind of a ductile transformation. You see here there is a change in the, initially it is a elastic and then it becomes a plastic type of a curve you can observe, but here there is no such transformation. It remains in the elastic region, and there is no ductile transformation, like it does not undergo from elastic to plastic transformation. So here the material has a high modulus, the material is highly stiff, so that at a particular point, say this is the there is a limit called the proportionality limit. After this proportionality, particular proportionality limit where there is no Hookean type of a behavior, after that what happens, the material transform into plastic, from elastic to plastic. After that, when you extend further, it will not come back again, that you know very well in the stress strain behavior. But whereas in the para-aramids, the material has a high modulus, so it does not have any kind of a pronounced ductile behavior as you see from the nylon. It will just break after if you subject it to further, very less ductile transformation in here. So this para-aramids, why it is most effective when you compare even in the ballistic protection, the primary reason being the high modulus. High modulus I have already explained with the help of an equation, hope you recall in our previous lecture, that how the wave velocity, there is a transverse wave velocity equal to under root modulus by density. So when the modulus increases and the density is lower, then you will get the higher generation of wave velocity. Okay, so the first thing is the modulus, and second important thing is that the why Kevlar is so effective, because it has a higher thermal stability, it has a higher TG, and the thermal melting and the fusion temperature is higher, and importantly it has a very high crystalline and oriented structure. It has a very high orientation. Hope you recall the manufacturing part of Kevlar, where we convert the polymers into in the form of liquid crystals, so that the liquid crystal domains are aligned in the fiber axis direction, more compact structure you get, so that results in the very high dynamic modulus, so that can enhance the wave propagation. The rate of wave propagation is around 7,700 meters per second. Okay, this is around 3 to 4 times higher than nylon. Okay, so that is the reason why it can withstand the more response to longitudinal deformation. Okay, so the high wave speed along with the specific modulus, these are the important reasons for the efficacy of Kevlar or the aramids. And also these fibers have a high tenacity and moderate elongation. The elongation is less if you just compare it with the nylon. Nylon has more elongation before it attains the ultimate tensile strength or rupturing. Before what happens, it actually extends more, but whereas this fiber does not have that kind of a property. After it reaches its elastic limit, then what happens, it becomes fractured. Okay, so that gives the higher toughness to the Kevlar. Okay, toughness in the sense, it is not the work of rupture, it is the fracture toughness, it is higher in the Kevlar. Okay, and another fiber which we discussed is the UHMWPE, which is the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Okay, so this one you know very well, it is a ultra high, it has a high molecular weight polyethylene, and the great advantage of this material is it has a low density. Okay, so this material giving both the higher modulus and also you see the density is also lower. Okay, so if you just observe the salient features of this UHMWP is, this has a large modulus increase with the rate of deformation, particularly at a higher temperature. When you just with the increase in the temperature, what happens, this modulus also increases, and tensile strength also will increase when the projectile is impacted. So that this happens because of the unique morphological structure of the UHMWPE. So that here, the important thing is, since the density is lower, what happens? The wave propagation, the longitudinal stress wave that is generated, it is much higher. Okay, it is equal to that of the diamond. Okay, diamond is a very hard material. You know very well. Diamond has a very good hardness, so it has a good abrasion resistance. Like this material UHMWPE, because of its low density, just coming back to the equation, wave velocity equation, you see when the density is much lower, what will happen? The modulus will also increase. Okay, so if you just see this table, you can see the modulus values of this UHMWP fibers. Okay, here you see this has around 1400 gigapascal modulus and 2000 gigapascal modulus. But when you compare it with Kevlar, this has a higher modulus. Why higher modulus? This has a very high stiffness. If you see the Young's modulus that is there, it is this molecular structure has a particular characteristic that provides the higher modulus. So because of the higher modulus and lower density, the wave velocity that is generated, you can see here, it is much higher when you compare it with the even the Kevlar. Okay, so three things. One is the higher modulus, and another is the low density, and another is the, because of this higher modulus and lower density, you get the higher wave velocity. So because of this reason, it is one of the most sought after material for the ballistic protection. Okay, so this is also, apart from Kevlar, this is also one of the important fiber that is used in the ballistic protection. But apart from all these things, specific strength, chemical resistance, light resistance, low weight, and good dynamic property, moisture sensitivity is not there. Apart from all these things, these have certain problems. The problem is, like similar to nylon, this also will creep. Okay, it will extend with time and it will undergo some deformation. Okay, so that is not a desirable quality for ballistic clothing. And next is the low temperature resistant. The melting points of this polyethylene, though the molecular weight is higher, the melting point of this polyethylene is lower when you compare it with the Kevlar. Okay, the TG and TM, these values are lower. And the next is this adhesion and compression properties are not good when you compare it with the Kevlar. So these actually limit the application of the UHMWP. But still, after Kevlar, this is the next material that is used in the ballistic protection. They are in the trade name of, say, Dyneema and Spectra. These are the trade names that are used. You can see the table here once again. These are the Spectra, Dyneema. These are the commercial names, the trade names on which these fibers are marketed. Next is the carbon fibers. So here the carbon fiber, you see it has a very high modulus and high tensile strength. Okay, so carbon, you know very well how it is manufactured. There are some three stages: carbonization, oxidative stabilization, carbonization, graphitization. Finally, you get a very fused structure, which is without any kind of nitrogen or hydrogen. It's completely a fused structure, graphite structure you get. So the material have a very good strength and high modulus. But the problem with this is this fiber has certain limitations to be used for the ballistic clothing. You see, why this can't be effective is, here when any projectile is striking the carbon fiber, what will happen is there will be an increase in the modulus. Okay, it can withstand the projectile energy. But after certain limit, say around 500 grams per denier, this material, what happened? The curve just flattens out. Okay, so that what happens? Only at the cost of elongation to break, this wave propagation increases. Means the material, though it has a very high modulus, what will happen is, after it reaches a particular value of, say, around 500 grams per denier, what happens is the material will becomes brittle because it does not have some extensibility. Okay, it does not have elongation. You see, even the Kevlar, if you just compare this against the Kevlar fiber before it undergoes a fracture, it has a slight extensibility. Okay, so that is a slight plastic deformation happening in the Kevlar, but whereas in this fiber, it doesn't happen. Actually, what happens after it reaches a particular modulus value of say around 500 grams per denier, till that it absorbs the energy and the wave propagation happens. But after that, what happens immediately, without undergoing any kind of an extension, it just becomes brittle. Okay, it just becomes brittle. Okay, once it becomes brittle, in the sense immediately it fractures like ceramic fibers. Okay, so because of this reason, what will happen? The strain energy absorption reduces after immediate transformation from elastic to brittle nature. It immediately the strain energy absorption and propagation and dissipation of energy that reduces, and because they have a very low strain to failure, because it does not have any kind of an elastic pronounced elastic behavior. So these materials, carbon fibers, you see, though they have a higher modulus, higher strength and higher tenacity, when any kind of a projectile is striking the carbon fibers, what will happen is it can withstand up to a particular modulus limit, a particular limit, say around 500 grams in denier, and after that it just becomes brittle. Okay, the reason being it does not have any pronounced elongation. There is some slight elongation is also required, that is not there to dissipate to absorb the energy, that is not there, and they can shear under the compression. When during this projectile is striking the specimen, it should not undergo any kind of a shear. Okay, what will happen when any kind of a compressive force take place? If the shear when the shear forces also take place, so that reason these materials becomes brittle. Okay, so that the shear resistance also becomes less when it because of the low strain to failure under the compressive force. So these make these fibers not good for the ballistic application. Next is the ceramics. About ceramics, already you have learned how the ceramics are manufactured. So this manufacturing part we are not going to discuss. There are some 3-4 methods are there, like chemical vapor deposition, radiation coating, sintering, many methods are there. So coming down to the ballistic protection, in ballistic protection, these fibers are one of the advantageous fibers to be used. But the problem is these fibers, they have a high density value like a metal. Like metal, these fibers have a higher density values. Okay, and they are still suitable for the ballistic application. Okay, the reason being it has a very good compressive strength. Okay, when unlike the carbon fibers, if you see the ceramic fibers have a very good compressive strength. And you see these materials also have a good hardness. That is why they have a very good abrasion resistance. So here, when the projectile is striking the ceramic yarn or ceramic, any kind of a ceramic material, what happens is because of the higher hardness, the material itself, the projectile itself get quickly eroded. The projectile, whether it is a cone shaped or it is a pointed shape or a hemisphere shape or a flat shape, that gets eroded. Okay, so it reduces the energy of the impact. Okay, like metal, this is also have a very good hardness. Okay, so that is one of the important like metal, this is an advantageous material to be used in the ballistic protection. And another is it has a high compressive strength. Okay, this high compressive strength does not allow to undergo any kind of a shear failure. Okay, so that is also another advantage. So these things reduce the impact of the projectile. And another important thing is it has a it has I'm sorry, it is not the advantage, it is a disadvantage. This material also, the similarity with the carbon is this material also does not have any kind of a elongation. It does not undergoes any kind of a plastic deformation. It just gets broken because it becomes brittle. Okay, if you see the stress strain curve of this ceramic fibers, I will show you a better stress strain curve. You can see these fibers. You see, unlike the steel, you can see the steel at a particular, it can at a low stress level, it follows a hook's behavior where the strain is proportional to stress is proportional to strain. But after a particular time, the elastic limit crosses so that it becomes plastic. So after this, it shows the curve in the plastic region, means with even a less stress, it will extend. Okay, it will be in the plastic region so that the strain to failure becomes higher, and then after it reaches the ultimate tensile strength, it will undergo the fracture. But whereas in the ceramic, you see the modulus is higher. If you compare it with the carbon steel, the modulus is higher. Okay, the curve is close to y-axis, but the problem here is these fibers, after it reaches a particular limit, okay, particular limit, say for example in metals we say, or in any curve, where there is a cross of the elastic limit, that is called the yield point. Okay, yield point or the elastic limit. After it crosses the elastic limit, what happens? It just becomes brittle. There is no formation of any kind of a transformation from elastic to plastic region. It immediately becomes brittle. So it has a low strain to failure. Okay, like similar to carbon, these fibers have a low strain to failure. Okay, so for a better understanding, you just observe this ceramics elongation percentage. If you observe these fibers density values, you see the density of these fibers are much higher when you compare it with the Kevlar or say carbon or say UHMWP. These fibers, similar to metal, they have density values more than 2, that is around 2.5 to 3.25 region. There are various ceramics like boron, silicon carbide, alumina, Nextel. Glass is not a ceramic material, but still that is also a mineral fiber that is comes under the list of ceramics. Okay, so these fibers, you see, they have a higher density and higher modulus. Modulus is very higher. Both are higher. Modulus is also higher and density is also higher. Just to compare the modulus values of these three, Kevlar, UHMWPE, and ceramics. The ceramics modulus, you can observe, it is higher, similar to the UHMWPE, very close to that. And more importantly, I have told you the advantage of ceramics. Ceramics have a higher hardness. That higher hardness results in more abrasion resistance. The wear resistance becomes higher. And another great advantage of the ceramic is, since the hard modulus is higher, density is higher, strength is higher, you see strength is not that higher, but strength is in the medium, you can say in the medium intermediate level between aramid and UHMWP. But the wave velocity propagation, which is the desired thing for the ballistic protection, you can see the wave velocity propagation is higher in the ceramic. You just compare the wave velocity propagation here, these values with against these values, carbon or aramids or UHMWP. You can see this wave velocity propagation is much higher in the ceramics. But apart from all this, why this material gives a problem? Because these materials have a low strain to failure. That is, the elongation to break is very less. This material is a highly brittle material. Okay. You can just see here the elongation to break of these fibers. If you compare it with Kevlar or UHMWP or carbon, you see this material has a low elongation to break. So that is why this material is brittle in nature. After it crosses the elastic limit, it just undergo the fracture. Okay, so that is not a desired feature. So because of the inherent brittleness, the nature of the fiber is a brittle, it is a brittle fiber. And another important thing is the lack of flexural strength is a very important property, because you see the flexural strength is very important, because when a bulletproof clothing is manufactured, the person wearing that bulletproof clothing should be free enough to flex his body. Okay, he should just flex his arms and body, so that it should be give freedom to mobility. So, but whereas you see this ceramics has a poor flexural strength. Okay, so because this material has a highly hardness is very higher, and it is a high compressive strength. It is also has an inherent brittleness and lack of uh, fluctuation. These things may make this material not a single material alone cannot use as a for the body armor. You have to just make a composite out of it. You have to mix the ceramic fiber with some matrix to make a ceramic fiber composite, so that in that case it will be a very good, it can overcome the fracture toughness and brittleness, and the flexural properties will also get improved. Okay, so these things are important to know. Why ceramics, what are the problems with the ceramics, what are the problems with the carbon, what are the problems with the aramids, and what are the advantage, what is the great advantage in the aramid fibers when compared with the other fibers. So these things are important. So that's what we have discussed in the previous lecture. So all these fibers already we have discussed, that is what are the types of materials used, that we have already discussed, what types of fibers and its varieties, what are the different categories of fibers, and its advantages that we have already seen. So today what we will do is we will just discuss briefly about what are the types of fabrics and some parameters influencing the ballistic protection that we will discuss today. So you see, in the ballistic protection, apart from that fiber, fabric structure is also equally important, play a major role in the giving the ballistic protection. So what is the role of fabric structure? You see, the fabric structure plays a decisive role to absorb and then dissipate the energy of the incoming projectile. So what happens, see, this is the projectile, which is a bullet, you can see here. When the bullet is striking a particular fabric or what happens, or any surface, you see, the fabric helps in deforming the projectile. It will help in deforming the projectile, so that it makes the it prevents the projectile to penetrate inside the fabric structure. Okay, so in that case, what will happen? The bullet gets deformed or say ruptured also. Okay, so you can see when the bullet is just striking, how these waves formation, you can see the wave formation that is taking place in the circle. You can see here, these are the waves that is taking place. So it fabric structure here, this helps in deforming the projectile. Okay, so how it helps, that we are going to see what type of fabrics are used for ballistic protection. The two important fabrics in the ballistic protection is the woven fabric and the unidirectional fabric. These are the two most important fabrics used in the ballistic protection to stop the projectile. Okay, so can we use a felted structure like a non-woven? Can we use a non-woven structure like a felt material? Can we use this? Yeah, felt is effective only for the low speed fragments. If any kind of a pistol is used, or any kind of a low speed fragments to be it is exposed to, then this felt may be effective, because this felt does not have a proper structure. If you see, the fibers are not aligned in a proper way. Okay, so when the bullet is striking the felted structure, what happens, the fiber just the alignment of the fiber is, because of the not proper alignment, just randomly it is oriented structure, so it is not that effective in capturing the bullets and then dissipating the energy. Okay, and if you see whether the knitted fabrics, can we use the knitted fabric? knitted fabric, it is seldom used in the ballistic protection because the knitted fabric has a low tensile modulus and it is more extensible. If you see the elastic behavior, though we have not put any kind of elastic material in the yarn, but still because of the stretching property and low tensile modulus, this knitted fabric is not used at all. Okay, very limited application in the ballistic protection. So coming down to woven fabrics, woven fabric is the most commonly used fabric structure in the engineering the soft body armor. Okay, so why we are using woven fabric? The woven fabric, you know very well how the structure of the woven fabric. It is like it has some crossover points, warp and weft. Crossover points are there, so that there are more number of network of fibers and yarns where it maximizes the number of crossover points between the crossover contact points between the warp and weft. So it forms a good network. So this network enable the fibers or yarns to be stretched, so that what will happen when the projectile is striking with a higher kinetic energy, this fabric can easily absorb the kinetic energy and it can dissipate the kinetic energy throughout the fabric surface. Okay, so there are various fabric parameters that are important that comes under the ballistic protection. First, one by one, we will discuss. One is the weave structure. In the normal 2D fabrics, woven structures, you can see plain weave and basket weave is used. The commonly used weaves. Plain is the most effective. 3D structures, there is some fabrics like angle interlock, warp interlock, orthogonal type of structures, fabrics can be used in the ballistic protection. And the cover factor, very important feature, important parameter in the ballistic protection. The cover factor, you know what is a cover factor? See, the cover factor of the ballistic protection should be in the range of say 0.6 to 0.95. It should not be less than 0.6 or it should not be more than 0.95. You know very well the cover factor indicates the tightness, okay, the compact structure of the warp and weft, how close it is. So, for example, if the cover factor, if it is less, say around say point, instead of 0.6, if it is 0.55, what will happen? The structure will be very loose, so that what will happen? The fabric will just get ruptured without absorbing the energy. It will just get ruptured and it will penetrate the projectile without absorbing any kind of energy. It will lead to failure. But when the cover factor is greater than 0.95, okay, so what will happen? The fabric will, without absorbing the energy, it will just tear. It will just get ruptured because of the too much compact structure. If a projectile is hitting, then that also will get ruptured. Both the things are not desired, especially when the cover factor is low. That is not desired at all. If it is much higher, then what will happen? The yarn properties will degrade in the process of weaving. Making a compact structure, the yarn properties also, because of the very higher amount of friction between the warp and weft yarns, when it comes to closer together, the yarn properties gets degraded. That also is not a desired thing. So the cover factor should be in the range of say 0.6 to 0.9. What about yarn twist? Here, this is also again another important parameter in the ballistic protection. Here you see the twist should be minimum. Okay, just to keep this in mind, what will happen is the twist should always be minimum in the yarns used for the ballistic protection. Okay, so if you increase the twist, what will happen? The breaking elongation increases. That is the elongation to break, that will increase. But the problem is when you increase the twist, what will happen is the modulus also gets reduced. Okay, that is because when you increase the twist, what happens? The angle of helix that gets changed. Okay? So if you make a higher twist, what happens is the twist angle also becomes higher. What happens is the twist angle, when it becomes higher, that leads to reduction in the modulus, so that what happens? The energy absorption capacity of the specimen gets reduced, because the primary requirement in the soft body armor, that is the fibers which you are using, should have a higher modulus. So the reduction in modulus is not a desirable feature that leads to reduction in the transverse velocity propagation, and obviously it will affect the strength. Okay, so the twist angle should always be less than 5 degrees. So the minimum twist is the maximum is the ballistic protection. Just keep this in mind. Next is the crimp. What is meant by crimp? It is the undulation of the yarns. That is the wavy structure caused by the yarn interlacing. Here, crimp is not a desirable feature in the ballistic protection. Okay, the fabric which you are using should have a less crimp. If there is no crimp, that is preferred. Okay, so what happens if you increase the crimp? That will decrease the crimp resistance. Why? Because you see, in the crimp structure, there will be a sort of a waviness in this structure. This waviness reduce the stress wave propagation. Okay, why? Because in the crimped structure, if you observe, there will be a zigzag form. Okay, something like a zigzag form structure will be there. So that what will happen? This will lead to very less stress wave propagation. It actually reduces the stress wave propagation. So the waves will not just spread, you cannot easily spread throughout the fabric structure because of the zigzag movement of the crimp in the structure. It reduces, it slows down the stress wave propagation due to the zigzag channelings. But what happens because of that? Because of the slowdowning of the zigzag propagation, slowdown of the wave propagation because of the zigzag channelings, it leads to blunt trauma. Okay, so here it does not allow the transverse waves to dissipate. It rather, what happens is the waves gets deflected. Okay, it does not lead to spreading, it just get deflected back. So that causes a problem called blunt trauma. Okay, for a better understanding, I will just put you a small, I will show you a small picture what is called blunt trauma. See, if any kind of a material we are using, whether it is a hard body armor or a soft body armor, apart from the armor material, what we use is we use a backing material. Okay, that is in the metal. In the first layer of the bulletproofing, that is exposing outside layer, has a metal or a soft body armor which is made up of high performance fiber. Below that, there will be a backing material. Okay, so if you see, I will show you a small picture. What happens? Internet seems slower. Can you see the picture? Can you see the picture?
No, sir. Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, see, you can see this is called the blunt trauma. Okay, so see, for example, normal example I have given. If a person is wearing a clothing and someone is just hitting it, they're just giving some punch to the body, what happens? In his body there is a trauma, there is a hit. Because of the hit given, he faces a trauma. Okay, similarly, what happens is just coming back to our discussion on blunt trauma. Just a minute, for a better, I will put one more picture. Can you understand now what is a blunt trauma? See, the person is wearing a bullet. Imagine that the person is wearing inside the bulletproof clothing. That bulletproof clothing which he is wearing, it contains some yarn structure that has a high zigzag channels, which is made up of high crimp. Then in that case, what will happen? It lead to transverse wave deflection, means the waves will not allow to propagate the energy throughout the fabric. It will just deflect. The waves will just get deflected. It will just go and hit. When the projectile is hit, it will just strike the specimen and it will just, waves will just start coming back. Because of that, what will happen? The inside of the body, it will just get affected with the trauma. Okay, you can see here, this is the bulletproof clothing. Let us say this is the bulletproof clothing. This is after a bullet is struck, what happened? There is a small impression you can see here. Okay, so the inside of the body should be, the skin should be protected. The skin and the internal organs, like whether the liver, kidney, pancreas, the important organs which are present, that should not get affected. That is why we keep a backing always. When you manufacture a bulletproof clothing, we keep a backing. Whether you manufacture a metal body armor or a soft body armor, you keep a backing, so that what will happen? You will be protected from the blunt trauma. Okay, so why I have shown the blunt trauma here? We are going to discuss what is this, how we test the blunt trauma. This blunt trauma should not happen. Okay, because of the projectile kinetic energy, it is striking at a high speed. Though the person is protected from the bullet, but still, because of the higher kinetic energy of the bullet and because of the inefficiency of the fabric, what happens is the inside portion, that is the skin and the other organs, gets a traumatical, gets a trauma, it gets a injury. Okay, so that injury can only be prevented when you keep a backing. Backing is definitely important in the ballistic protective clothing. And coming down to our discussion on crimp, the yarn crimp should be very less. Okay, so that is why I just put this figure to explain you what is a trauma. Okay, so the yarn crimp should be much less. If the increase in the crimp, what will happen? It will reduce the ballistic protection. Okay. Next is the friction. What is the friction? You know very well what is the friction. So here the friction of yarns are very important. So the friction should not be lower or it should not be too higher. This is actually similar to the one which we discussed earlier, that is the yarn cover factor. So here, when you make a yarn structure with a higher friction, what will happen? More yarns will take part. When the projectile is striking the specimen, more yarns will take part in the energy absorption, so that will have a good ballistic protection. But the problem here is, if you increase the friction too higher, Then what will happen? It will create some yarn pullout. Means it will create some breakage. The friction becomes too higher. Uh, Yarn pullout can happen where one yarn can actually pull out from the structure, so that that can lead to better absorption of energy. But if the friction is too higher, like say above 0.2, that is the very high friction, then in that case what will happen? It will lead to just the breakage. The material will just break, so that there is no yarn pull out. That material will directly, it will get broken, so that there is no chance for energy propagation. It will lead to higher impact force. Okay, so the friction should be higher, and it should be, the maximum limit is up to 0.2. Okay, 0.2 friction value gives the better effect, because the increase in the friction leads to, makes more yarn to take part in the energy absorption. And because of, since more yarn is taking part, what happens when the projectile is striking the specimen, yarn pull out take place. Because yarn pull out, it is very important in the energy absorption. It increases the energy absorption. Okay, so yarn pull out is a desirable feature, you can say, in the friction. But if the friction is too higher, then what happens? It leads to higher concentration of impact, so that will lead to breakage of yarn. Okay, so that will lead to yarn breakage, where when the yarn gets broken because of the higher impact, immediately the energy absorption gets reduces, and it will create higher impact, and it will lead to blunt trauma and other damage also. So you see, for example, I will show you a small picture. There are two different views. This is the plane view, and this is also the plane view, but there is a small difference here. Here, in this plane view, the small yarn is inserted. You can see here, this is called Leno yarn. Yarn is inserted in this to create friction. Okay, these are the modified structure where the plane view with Leno insertion. Okay, and here it's a different plane view with a difference, where here there is a Leno insertion to create more friction. But whereas here what we do is, instead of along with this one weft, we make double weft. Okay, double weft insertion, so that the structure becomes more compact with the higher friction. So if the understanding from this friction in the ballistic protection is, if the friction increases, what happens? The more yarns take part in the ballistic protection, so that it will lead to better absorption of energy. Okay, so that is the understanding. Whether in the how to improve the friction, you can make a compact structure, or you can do some structure modification like this by inserting a Leno type of a yarn inside the structure, or you can make a double weft in the fabric. So these things can lead to better generation of better friction. Next is the unidirectional fabrics. So this one, it is actually a composite where you combine some cross-plied filaments with a matrix, where the cross-plied filaments are the reinforcement. You combine it with a matrix to form a laminate, so that here this composite structures, they are very effective, especially the unidirectional composites, where the alignment, if you just see like this, you can see it is in the one direction. It is the unidirectional structures, unidirectional composites, where one layer you align in this direction and other layer in this direction, and simultaneously there is a repeat in the like the first 1, 3 and 2, 4 type of a unidirectional fabrics. If you make, just to make a laminate out of it, this is a better kind of a material. When you make a composite like this has a higher energy absorption, and energy dissipation is much higher when you compare it with using the woven structure alone. Okay, so you see 100% unidirectional fabric panel, it absorbs higher impact of say around 12.5 to 16.5 energy than compared with the 100% woven fabric panel. Okay, so unidirectional fabric is more effective, because you know very well, when the fabric is laid in the unidirectional in the same direction, if you align it, there will be more crossover points, so that leads to more stress wave propagation. Okay, so this is an example for a unidirectional fabric. Okay, so these are all the different fabric parameters that influence the ballistic protection. Okay, so I am just stopping here for today. So this is about the second part of the ballistic protection. So far we have been discussing about mechanism in detail, types of fibers, what is the why each and every fiber is different, how it influences the use the ballistic protection that we have discussed, and different fibers, and what are the fabric structure that influences the ballistic protection, the parameters that influence the ballistic protection. These things we have learned. So in the next lecture, we will move on to the further discussion on ballistic protection. So I am stopping here for today. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can just stop here for today. Any doubt?